to everybody else who is watching us today. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for watching Olga's show today on Wednesday. So I'm back with my shows and my guest after a little break for my honeymoon. If you haven't seen some updates, go back to my YouTube channel or Facebook and find out some of updates about my wedding and honeymoon. Anyways, let's go back to business. Today, as you can see on the screen, I have a fabulous guest with me. This guest is slightly unusual because probably you got used to seeing some speakers and authors on my show, which was the most regular guest on my show. But actually today I have something very different for you. Are you ready? Dr. Vita Kadile is an assistant professor and postgraduate program director at Leeds University Business School. So all Leeds people say hello. But she is also a founder of EduCat, executive training and development company. And today we'll be talking with Vita all about competencies in the workplace, something you all can relate to. Vita, I'm so happy to have you in my virtual studio. Feels like you're almost at my living room. How are you today?
Hi, Olga. Really nice to be here. It's been a long time dream to join a live show, the one that I've been watching quite regularly when I was able to. So yeah, it does feel like despite the distance, we are chatting across the table. So it's great.
Absolutely. It's amazing what technology can do. And even though you're working at the Leeds Business School, you actually are based right now in where? Please share with us.
I have moved to Cardiff a couple of years ago. So again, technology has enabled that to a great extent. And it's been a good move because I am really happy that I'm able to combine some work here with my university work still in Leeds. I obviously still go to Leeds quite often. I teach at the university, as you might know. Yeah, it's pleasant to be able to see different parts of UK, I guess.
Oh, amazing. Wonderful. Well, Cardiff people say ahoy and Leeds people also say ahoy to us. Anyways, Vita, let's go straight to the business. Why do we need to take care of the competences in the workplace? Why is it important? Why do we need to take care of that?
Well, there are many things that I guess a lot of us question in line with what you've just said. And how do we even get to the understanding that these are competencies that we should be caring about, right? So we talk about skills. We talk about what you can and what you cannot do. You more than anyone understand about working with people's mindset and making them realize what they're capable of, what they should be working on. So I'm assuming you have come across the concept of competencies of different level before in your professional and personal life, I guess. But if we look at it from scientific point of view, we can see that there are certain competencies that are very transferable and very applicable to different types of jobs. There are certain competencies that you can get as a result of your education, as a result of training, but then there are those that you gain much quicker during experiences that you expose yourself in life. And then, of course, employers who seek new employees for their businesses, whatever level we're talking about, by the way. I'm not just saying about the graduate level or the level that has to do with some senior positions. Of course, look at what those potential candidates can and cannot do. In some cases, CV might be a very useful indicator and their performance in the interviews. But in other cases, people are able, in a really articulate manner, explain what they can do and what they have been doing in their professional lives. And this is this crucial step where people who are able to do it actually understand what competencies they have and what they lack. So all those questions in the interviews that we often get annoyed by, tell us about your strengths and weaknesses, you know, the most annoying one, and you never really know what to say about the weakness because you have only strengths, right? Who has weaknesses? And this is when being realistic and being honest about your skill set, you are able to provide this information for an employer in a still very much favorable way for yourself. So broadly, shortly to answer your question, competencies are important because we are one way or another judged by them, I'm afraid, with deals, with jobs, with even building professional relationships and our networks, right? Again, you are another expert on networking, so I'm not going to be telling that to you. But also it's something that we can use as our main asset. Even if we don't have experience, but we might have competence that we are dying to apply to a context, that could be enough for an employer in many cases.
I love the fact how much you highlight the importance of being honest and transparent with the employer. Because what happens very often in a workplace is people go for the interview and they try to make up almost like an avatar of themselves, which employer is kind of looking for, and they a little bit maybe mislead the employer with maybe not existing competencies, and unfortunately very often they lose the job because they cannot do it. So I love the fact that you highlight the importance of transparency and being honest about your weaknesses. But I'm sure some of the people right now are watching us and thinking, competencies, it sounds so complicated. Like, what does it mean as a word? Like, what does it mean, competences? How would you explain it in a more digestive way?
Well, I think it's good that you mentioned the more digestive kind of layman's language, because I'm very much used to in my work to talk in academic language. So it's a good practice for me too. But speaking in very simple terms, competence is an ability to complete a task in a certain way, is an ability to approach a situation in a certain way, and is an ability to apply the skill and knowledge that one has to tackle certain situations with a successive outcome. So if I know that I can solve this problem and I know how, it means I can be competent in solving this problem. That's the transparent example. But so it is an ability to apply knowledge and information to a certain context.
Good. So in a very simple words, it's almost like something what you're really good at and you do it effortlessly, right?
Indeed.
Okay. Yeah. That's good. Wonderful. So in that case, the next question is, how do we improve them, and should we improve them? Because from my point of view, and you know me for many, many years, I know you for many years, and we both know how much we are passionate about improving ourselves. But it still sometimes surprises me how many people are not aware that they should improve themselves. And I think this very often can be almost like the downside, almost like that little bump in their career, that they think they're good, but they're not aware that they should improve something. So in your opinion, how do you think we can become more aware of what we should improve?
Sure. I'll probably answer this question from two perspectives. So if one was working successfully in a company, let's say, and another scenario will be someone who is struggling in their job. So that's just to give a comparison, okay? So I'll start with a successful example. Let's assume we have a middle-level manager who likes his or her job, good at it, enjoying spending time at work with colleagues and all those other benefits that come when you're really committed and passionate about what you do, right? And one of those times when this employee or this manager is faced with a task that he or she are not as familiar with, they might realize that they lack some skills, right? So this is a typical easiest way to spot that you missed something, you need to learn something, right? Then there might be a situation when that same successful employee is faced with a task that they have been working on all the time, and it also almost becomes an automation of how we solve this situation without thinking, are there better ways, more effective ways to approach this? And when this happens, it's extremely difficult to spot this because we think, as you said earlier in your question, that we are just so good at it. And I think, for instance, I'm great at teaching and lecturing and dealing with students, but every time something comes up later on that I haven't even been aware of, and I think I need to work on it, but it takes time to get to this point. So if we are applying our skills and our competencies to tasks that we do all the time, it's really hard to spot what we can do better. And this is where this inner drive for personal development and learning helps, because just as a result of gaining new information, absorbing knowledge, like a sponge, learning something new might get you to the point that, hold on a second, I could improve this. I can make it faster. I can reach more people and more clients in the day. I can present a better file or a better pitch to my new clients. I can design a better website. It could be anything, right? So that's our successful employee scenario. And then let's imagine someone who is not as great in their job, perhaps yet, and hopefully yet, and good things are still to come. So if an employee is working in a company and generally struggles in sorting the tasks in a timely manner, perhaps pressured with deadlines, or lack of experience in this particular area, one of the things when people don't really realize that they're not competent is simply fear, because they don't want to admit to themselves that there is something they don't know. This is really damaging for self-identity. This can be really damaging for, personality and personal feel of yourself, because you just admit to yourself that there is something you don't know. It's almost a failure for someone, which of course it is not. And then that's the sad case, where people rarely get to sort it out themselves unless something really not so positive happens in that workplace, and essentially they just have to either move on, or someone else points out to them that they need to learn something different. And then a more positive outcome for the same not so successful employee is, when faced with a challenging situation, when faced with a task, they either become aware that there is something that they really need to change in themselves, especially if they have not been successful in a row, right? Or if their line manager, or if their friend, if their colleague, or if their mentor, many of us have mentors these days, points out that perhaps you could review in terms of what you think works in certain situations. Not that you don't know anything, but there is always something new that you can learn and apply. And when we try that, this is already a competence. It sounds funny, but being able to recognize what you lack is a quality a lot of people miss. And it doesn't come just like that. You really get to the point when you accept it and use it as your strength, because then you know what you need to learn. So these are the examples of why we struggle, right, to understand what we need. And then your second question was about improving these competencies, right? Yes. So earlier on, I mentioned that one of the most common ways of improving them is by learning. And it brings us back to the roots of education. It brings us back to gaining new information. And as classical as it may sound, it is about gaining new knowledge. It is what it is. And I'm not just saying that because I'm a higher education professional. I'm only saying that because it is a fact. And that when it comes to the ways of how you can learn it, that of course becomes very different. So you yourself have been working with clients, you've been speaking at different events, and you've been providing training at different organizations and different clients. All of those instances, even when you just speak, is a learning experience for those who listen to you. All of those instances, even networking event where we go and have a glass of our favorite drink or a snack, and listen to someone present, or just mingle around, can be a learning experience. It's incredible how, if you keep your mind open, you can turn any situation into a learning experience. So if you are more into formal approach, you might go into training. You might sign up for an executive course. You might sign up for a one-day event. You might sign up for some sort of a long-term course that gives you understanding of that particular skill that you miss. If you are more unsure as to what to do, even being open-minded and in social situations or in some sort of extracurricular activities or professional development activities, can be your learning opportunities, as long as you let that information come here and process it and make it work for you.
I love that. And thank you so much for giving such a thorough explanation about how can we be more aware of what we should be improving. And I love the fact that you actually also highlighted the fact that being aware is already a competence. Being aware is already
absolutely
a skill. Because many people, they ignore the fact they can analyze themselves. And actually, it is a really good skill to have. Self-awareness is a really important point to just have and work on. So thank you so much for that. And about improving, well, I cannot agree less, because, I'm into personal development, and I always was. And I think the quote which I love to repeat is, the more you learn, the more you earn. And that's the fact, right? The more you learn, the more things you can actually apply in your life. And of course, then you can earn. And it's not only about material things, not only about the money. It's also about the respect. It's about reputation. It's about earning work, and so many other things. So I think learning and constantly improving yourself is really, really important. So thank you so much for what you do, Vita, because if we go now from your your work as educator to you being a founder of EduCat, what actually made you to set up this company, and why? Like, what's your reason for
I knew this question was coming. That's typical. I have to expect it. So a bit of background, if you don't mind. I have been an academic for more than 10 years now.
Wow.
After I've done my PhD, still in Leeds, and I think I was always drawn to providing learning opportunities for people, and of course students in this case, right? So I really enjoyed it. I then had a few more opportunities in addition to my kind of main work in the university, where I'm also program director. So I deal with master's level student on much more than just a learning basis, but rather on a community and kind of relational basis. I had an opportunity to take part in some executive training provision as well. So that was a very different experience. That was dealing with businesses, was dealing with corporate experienced people, not fresh graduates, and there was a very much different power balance as well. And you try to educate people who think they know everything, so it's really hard. And I like the challenge. You know me quite well. I like the challenge, and I thought that there's certainly a way to make anyone aware in that course, since they've already signed up for some sort of training. They understand that there's something they want to learn. At least they're trying to learn. So working with that information and using multiple, self-assessment tests and psychometric tests to get the level of what they know, what they don't know, and what they want to know has been the first step and has been really successful. So around at the same time, I think I got into a research project on entrepreneurial competencies, specifically with a colleague and actually with some partners from US. And this has been an eye-opening experience. There has been so many competencies that we just take for granted, but in fact have crucial importance and crucial contribution to developing a person, to developing a founder, an entrepreneur, and all the roles that we juggle in a daily life. So having all that in mind, doing a lot of research, generally publishing in entrepreneurship, this is my field of expertise, and seeing students grow and develop in front of me all the time, year on year, has made me think that what I do in university is great and I love it, and that is the reason why I still do it, right? Because after so many years. But I thought that there is something else that I really want to do, and I want to do it the way I think is going to work for different groups of people. So this happened maybe. The first thought came into my head probably about 6-7 years ago. And then, what happened? Life happened, work happened, different family events happened. So it was moved aside. And then finally, during the first lockdown last year, as many people who changed their life because of the pandemic, I thought this is not the best, that was not going to be a best time to do it, to finally move and do it. So this is when I set up my company, and because I have been brewing on this idea for so long, I already had so many contacts everywhere, and I knew exactly what I was doing. As you're aware, my partner has his own multiple businesses, so of course his support was really, really good. But essentially, the mission behind it was never, to drop my employment and just be entrepreneur because I want a fancy title. I really wanted to provide learning for people who are extremely busy, who have work, they don't need to be employed anywhere, but those who have to make their work more effective, those that have to change things, or they want to change things, or let me phrase it in a way that they are brave enough to change things and see that little thing that they need to do and how much of a difference that is going to make. So this is how company came in place. I knew some of the areas where as a result of my research and experience and consultancy as part of university, I knew which competencies are those that are often needed for businesses to improve on, to work on, whatever your field of businesses or industry of businesses, there's always working teams, there's always different levels of management, whether it's an SME or a multiple department company or a multinational company. So this has brought me to the understanding that this kind of niche approach of customized training is really what a lot of businesses need. But even if they come to the realization that there is something they want to improve, say there is a new employee joining the team who is quite good but needs to get a common feel of how the company culture is, or there has been some changes in the organization that need to be addressed and implemented, ingrained in employees' work and culture, or there has to be, or there's a new leadership in the company and that changed everything, different leadership styles, leadership politics, influence, you name it. Or as we recently experienced, the effects of pandemic has changed how companies work, even the return to the offices. This is what my office looks like for 2.5 years now, what you see in the back. So all of these things, and adapting to the change of whatever kind that change is, can be really difficult, and it can affect us in many not so great ways where we can't really manage to do our work properly. So with all that in mind, I thought this is a good time to try and provide something like that. So it has been going quite well, and I think the fact that so I don't do it all myself. I think my website says it really clearly that as much as I know something, I work with loads of different educators and facilitators who are experienced in the field, whether they come from academia or industry or professional development sector. So I have found a great team that I can work with, and that's awesome because I trust every single person I work with. I very much vet every single person I invite to work with. And it's been amazing because you get to see how you can help someone in a personalized way, provide that learning that they need.
I love that. The best part about what you were talking about is your passion for that, because I can see through you the passion for helping other people to grow and improve themselves. And I think what you mentioned there, to make the training to be more personalized, is very special as well. And I think, as you also referred to COVID-19, this situation helped us to understand that we all are individuals. We're not a machine. We're not an army of people. We all are individuals, and therefore we need individual approach, because we all have individual circumstances, right? And as a result, of course, we're going to have individual competence. So I really love the fact that you do that, and I think it's really, really life-changing, not only for those individuals, but I think what you do is life-changing for actually businesses. Because as much as it is, because think about it, so many individuals are willing to learn, so many people are willing to improve their skill set, they're willing to learn how they can do their work better, and yet not many employers can find a place where they can make it personalized, where they can make it so different, where they can make it, like very individualistic. And when they come to you and you can access and you can just scan what they need to improve and provide that personalized training. I'm not meaning by you, but with people with whom you're working, and by yourself including. That is absolutely life-changing. I can just see businesses skyrocketing after working with you, because everybody will go through what they need. And that's important.
I maybe wouldn't go as far as saying, life-changing or skyrocketing, but thank you for a great word. But even if there is a little difference, that's already a positive step. And being a coach, you know that it doesn't happen overnight. It's a process, and it's not the length of the journey that matters, it's the strength of the step. So if we see it as little steps, this is where these changes and these improvements actually make a difference. And once you see one difference in place and actually resulting in some sort of improved process in the workplace, or better relationship in a workplace, or a better way of doing things in the workplace, then it's just as easy as to continue doing it and understand why you're doing it. And I'm glad you mentioned the screening. I think you said screening, or the assessment part of what they need. This has really been probably the most challenging part of setting up the business, because I didn't want to just put some courses out there and get people, the idea of what we can train on, what we can learn with them together, and kind of provide almost immersive learning just for them, privately and without anybody else in the classroom, virtually or face-to-face. It was the idea that I really wanted to be able to tell the business what they should focus on. So using loads of different sources of scientific, practical, industry, and professional development kind of side of all sorts of backgrounds, and involving a lot of people for this, we have developed the business training needs assessment. So this is the assessment that first the interested person or the potential client completes, absolutely free of charge. We don't charge for that. And we get that form completed. We see, so it's quite a detailed one. So it does mean you have to be committed to understand what you should be learning, what you should be training on. But you also get to see a lot of information from that company, from that client. And then based on that, myself and another person in our team, we look through the files provided, the information provided. We obviously treat it all sensitively. We don't need any numerical data, any kind of business stats, not at all. It's more about really competencies, back to our topic of today, of what has been used in the company, how long, what kind of relationships are there, what kind of transactions are there, things like that. And based on that, we take some time, so we don't respond right away. This is what you need to learn, go learn, pay the money, off you go, employ it, We actually take a week almost to assess this and to provide a detailed answer, yet again, all without any payment. And it's up to them to decide whether, based on what we suggest, they want to move forward. And if they do, we then also offer different levels of what we could do about it. Because as we know, in any world, and especially the one quite scarred by pandemic, budgets are different. And budget for learning is never the one that is skyrocketing, to use your words, So we are quite happy with, because of this personalized content, we have the freedom to offer different type of information or different depth of information, right? So we can provide training that goes 2 hours or the one that lasts 2 weeks every day. So it's really in terms of, it's really tailored to what the business needs and what they think they should be currently including in their budget. It's as simple as that.
Wow, I love that. It sounds like it's a place to go, because it's a place to go where you not only learn something new, but you will also learn about yourself, what you need to learn. Because often it's so easy to go and learn another course. Any organization just get another speaker, another facilitator, to have another training. It's easy. You just go book somebody, but to learn something what you specifically need, that is very precious, very, very precious. I love that.
We hope so. We hope that's the case, and we really push on emphasizing or highlighting this part. This is not just training. This is a tailored training opportunity that not many companies currently provide. There are some, of course, who have been in the field much more than me, and many of them quite large international companies, and many of them have been sort of inspirations for me. I'm very much respectful of my competitors in many ways, but at the same time, it's really what kind of training also is provided, and in what way, because most of us in the team are educators in our daily lives, at universities, at schools, at professional development centers and things like that. We do this all the time. So we are at the kind of all access of information that comes with innovative pedagogical techniques, engaging ways of making people learn. No one's talking here about PowerPoint slides and people listening. That's yesterday. No one does that anymore in the corporate world, right? So it's a lot of action. It's a lot of applying things straight away. It's a lot of thinking and a lot of reflection. That's another important thing, because this is what comes to do with realization as well, right? It's a lot of things that people actually do, often without even realizing that they can. And that moment when you are able to show them that in fact they can do it, they can improve it, but they already can do something about it, is eye-opening. I'm waiting for the time when we are much more free to meet face-to-face, to be able to see in person those people when they experience it, as opposed to how it has been happening virtually so far. Because I think the energy in the room is just like enough for a month to go on off. So I'm really looking forward to being back in the physical environment and in companies' offices, you know. But yeah, it's been great. And back to your competencies point, in terms of identifying them, in terms of showing how they are important, the spectrum of how many different things people individually and their organizations or their teams or their departments need. There's just a never-ending list. And there's so many different things, small and broader ones, that can really make a lot of difference if you work on them. And I think if people really realize that these competencies, especially say if we talk about personal effectiveness, right, time management, planning, working on deadlines and scheduling, this is not just something that you're going to be good at work. This is going to be something you will easily transfer into your, you know, all other domains of life, right? This is going to be something that will make you more organized as a person, more effective with calling back a friend, not forgetting to I don't know, buy something on the day and you've promised for many times because you're busy, and it happens. No one is, you know, at fault. But things like that, and all sorts of different competencies that we think are very much work related, like networking, like say goal setup, or supervising others. It might sound like it's almost very much controlling, unnecessary quality that one might have. But if you are good at doing your job, and if your job is supervising employees in their work and assisting them in different processes, different tasks, this can make you very much a very good almost a household manager, you know, because you are able to see everything that happens. You can anticipate things better. And I'm not saying you become a control freak, not at all, or a quality inspector. You are becoming much more aware of your environment, and you are able to tell others about things. You are able to notice much more than anyone else can. So a lot of those competencies, another part, you know, another point for their importance is that they really are present in every day of our lives, in any setting.
That's true. And the trick is, because they're present in our lives, we don't notice them. They're too obvious. It's like, because we speak English right now, we don't really notice how much effort we put into speaking English. But English is not our first language. But
No,
because we use it every day, it became so obvious. And only when you travel somewhere where they don't speak English, you think, oh, they don't speak English. Then it becomes obvious, right? The same with your skills.
it's true.
Every day, you don't pay attention because it's too obvious for you. And actually, I have here a good example. One organization asked me to deliver a workshop on project management. And I was like, a workshop on project management? But what to teach on project management? Like, okay, can you give me more details, please? I was just wondering in my head, like, okay, I need more details. And he said, okay, so I would like to, you know, to help my staff to learn how they can recognize a project, how they can deliver the project, what they can work on, because some of them, they reported they struggle with it. I said, okay, not a problem. And I remember when I started the workshop, and I just simply asked them, did anybody ever in your life buy a house? Has any of you ever got married and set up a big, huge wedding? Did any of you ever organize a big event? And surprisingly, everybody in a room somehow was organizing and delivering and finishing something. And I said, how about calling them just a project? How about you already know how to deliver a project? And literally you could see faces were like, oh yeah, I was doing projects, but I just never called them a project, right? And that's the power sometimes of changing your perception, even if it is with training, for you to realize you already are competent at so many things, but you're just not aware of that, right? So again, raising awareness of your competences, raising awareness of what you're good, what you're not good is really, really good, because then what you recognize, okay, I'm definitely not good. Here it comes. Contact Vita, and she will help individual training, right? But anyways, Vita, talking about how people can reach out to you, I will share your website, but can you tell any other ways how people can reach out to you when they want to book you for either self-assessment or training or anything else?
Well, I'm generally quite active on LinkedIn. So my name's surname will easily identify, I think, only one individual. Blessed to be named like that. This is really useful in the business world. Yeah, so the website company also has Instagram, which we regularly update with some new kind of fields of expertise that we can provide training in, or events that are about to come in the future, or testimonials, for example. This is a new thing that we're going to implement. We'll be honest with you, didn't have a chance yet. It's been so busy. So now I'm finally getting some comments from people who had training last year, and I finally got some comments from them because I just had to move on and do other things and research or provide another training. So yeah, so the website, my LinkedIn, I think in terms of getting in touch there, you would certainly get a response. We have a very active contact form on the website. This is where most of my clients actually reach out. And once you complete that, if you're interested, this is how you also receive your business training needs assessment form. So it's not available on anywhere on the website, purely because this is our intellectual property and we don't want it to be available there for download just as it is. But when we send it to potential clients to complete their assessment, we obviously state that this is intellectual property of our company. Even if they complete it, that will be a violation of our rights if they use it elsewhere. So because it's a free assessment, we believe this is a fair thing to ask back, isn't it? So yeah, but contact form on the website. There's a phone number as well that you can reach out on, email, and yeah, just messaging me on LinkedIn. I don't think I would miss anything of that. So please do, if there's any questions or just anyone wants to chat about competencies, I'm more than happy about that.
That's wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing your contact details and how you can help. That's wonderful. And I would like to actually hear from those who are watching us today. Where are you watching us from? And based on the conversation today, have you thought about your competencies? What are you really good at? Think about it and type below this video. What do you think you are absolutely outstanding at? And also type below, what do you think you could improve? Right? Just think about it. Be more self-aware. Learn about yourself. And again, Vita is here. Her contact details will be right below the video. I'll make sure I'll post all the links to her profile so you can reach out to her as well. Well, Vita, you know, I can talk to you for hours, as we normally do, actually, like behind the scenes. And I'll be looking forward to definitely chat to you more. But for today, I think let's not keep people waiting and being here with us for too long. But I would like to thank you from the bottom of my heart for coming today to my live show and sharing your wisdom, sharing your knowledge about competences. It's something what is really important, especially after COVID-19 pandemic, when the world unfortunately had to adapt and kind of behave in a new normal way. So thank you so much for sharing what you know. Thank you for showing such a great example of how you can start an organization during COVID-19 times and make it successful. I think this is a very, very powerful example. So thank you for this. And if there's anything else you would like to add just before we finish off, please go.
Well, first of all, I'd like to thank you back. This has been really pleasant experience. I'm very used to, you probably remember, very used to teaching live. And obviously in the last year, it has become increasingly virtual and not new to be in front of the screen. But this is definitely my first experience in a live show with someone, and with someone like a friend, which is obviously very useful and very pleasant in general. Always a pleasure to share information that is what I'm passionate about in research, in work, and we don't get to do that enough. I think we lose this opportunity to do it, so it's always great. And just a final thing, to probably wish to everyone who's watching, to you yourself, and anyone who might be still wondering what this has to do, you know, with learning, with competencies. Where do you even start? I think seeing learning as your superpower is something that I would wish to everyone. This is actually a tag or a slogan of our company, of my company, and it's as simple as make learning your superpower. Because, and to explain that, what that means, it means that if you know you need to learn and what you need to learn, you can do anything. That's just what it is. So yeah, I hope we all get to that point.
That's very powerful. Learning is a new superpower. Oh, thank you for that. That's a great quote. I think everybody just needs to use that. But thank you so much, Vita, once more for being here with us. Thank you, everybody who was watching us today. And if you're watching on replay, please do make sure you still mention where are you watching us from. And by the way, don't forget, sharing is caring. Maybe you have a friend or a relative, or maybe somebody else in your life who you think will benefit from watching this video. Share with them this, because I'm sure that will inspire them with not only Vita's journey of setting up an organization during the COVID-19 times to make it successful, but also with the passion and love for education, passion and love for self-improvement, because we all need to improve, because that's our journey in life. So thank you so much all. Thank you, Vita. And until next time, see you next Wednesday. Take care.